Golden State, because right now all the narrative and all the conversation is that the Lakers suck and they won't work, and that the Russell Westbrook whole situation, this, that, and the other. And I think if they go and they beat the Warriors, one, I think that's a confident boost for the team as a whole, because you just beat the defending champions at home on rain night. So I think that that's a big boost. But also, I think at least momentarily, I think some of the narrative and discussion will change. I think a lot of it will be like, oh, look, here we go. Like all of a sudden, the Lakers are good. And I think a lot of people will blow it out of proportion. Like, don't get me wrong, I'll be excited. I'll definitely talk about it. Like if they win, unless they just completely dominate the Warriors and it's just like a good old fashioned smackdown, which I don't think will happen, then I don't want to put too much stock into it either way, whether they win or lose. Obviously, if they win, it'll be a good confidence boost. But I don't like, even if they lose, I don't mind if they lose. I care about how did they lose.
Yeah.
Like if they lost, did they lose by 30 and just got ran out the gym? Or was it a hard fought game, back and forth the entire game? The Lakers were always in it, maybe had some leads, maybe lost some leads, maybe came back, regained a lead, and it was a good, like we were hanging with the Warriors, for the entire game. We just, they just hit key shots down the stretch, or, Steph hit a game winner or something. Like if it's something like that, then I think that's a very positive game that you can hang your hat on and be excited for the rest of the season. But if they go in there and they lose by 40 and it looks like it's just like, these guys don't belong here, then I think that could be a real problem for not only just the team, but like the fandom. I think you'll have a lot of people that just like freak out and overreact. And I just think that you want to try to shift the narrative as quickly as possible. I really do. I think you want to immediately just kind of change the perspective and change the narrative. And the best way to do that is to get a win opening night, especially if you beat the Clippers too. Like if the Lakers start 3-0, like say they beat the Warriors, the Clippers, and the Blazers.
Yeah.
I think that you're going to see an entirely different narrative than what's going around right now. I think the whole world is going to be like, oh, like the Lakers are good. Look, they beat the two best teams in the West, all that stuff. And I think you're just going to have a different conversation where right now everyone's like, Lakers suck, da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, we haven't even played a game yet, so let's see. But I do. And I think, and I'm pretty confident LeBron knows that. LeBron knows what the conversation is. LeBron knows what's going on out there. I think that he's looking at it as like, we need to win game one. We need to beat the Warriors and we need to beat the Clippers. But I will say, I think the Clippers game is more important than the Warriors game, because
tell me why, because that's interesting.
So even if we lose to the Warriors, I think the conversation won't be as bad. Again, depending on how they lose. If it's a hard fought game and they lose, I don't think people will blow that up as much as they would otherwise. Just because one, it's the defending champs, rain night, all that. So like
it's an away game too. That's
you have like a I guess like an inherent excuse, even though I'm not really big on excuses when it comes to that, but I get it. Like I think the general people will look at it as like, hey, it's not a big deal, especially if the Lakers are competitive in that game. If they just, like I said, if they get ran out the gym, then it's a bad look. But if they're competitive and they lose, I don't think it'll be a big deal. But if we go into the Clippers and we get smacked by the Clippers in Staples Center, that is going to be a huge conversation, because the Clippers have the last, several seasons have absolutely owned us, and have just absolutely I mean, I don't think we've won a game against the Clippers in like 2 years or something like that. Like we just haven't been able to beat them. They're just a team that has our number, at least in the regular season, right? And so I think that if that happens, that will be so much more amplified than the Warriors. Like I think if the Lakers lose to the Clippers, especially if they get smacked by the Clippers, I think the conversation becomes so much more like, oh, look, the Lakers, they still suck. The Clippers have their number. It's like little brother beating big brother always ends up being a point of conversation. Well, you add that to like the Lakers situation right now. I just think it'd be a huge, just kind of blow up point. And so I really think like if the Lakers beat the Warriors and lose to the Clippers, you're
Mhm.
still going to have that narrative and conversation. But if the Lakers beat the Warrior, or if the Lakers lose to the Warriors but beat the Clippers, then you're going to see a lot of people be like, "Oh, like they're like the Lakers are really good." The Lakers,
Yeah.
like, yeah, they lost to the defending champs, but they beat arguably the best team in the Western Conference and maybe the league in the Clippers. Oh, look, Big Brother is still Big Brother. Like, it just becomes a completely different conversation than
Yeah.
otherwise. Now, if the Lakers win both of those games, I'm not saying they will, but if they do, I just think we see an over exaggeration the other way. Right now, I
Yeah.
feel like in many ways it's an over exaggeration in a negative light. I think
Mhm.
it'll be the opposite. I think a lot of people like that are like hating on the Lakers or just, think the Lakers are going to be terrible. I think a
Yeah.
lot of those people, if we start 2-0 and then we go and beat the Blazers and we're 3-0, I think a lot of those people are all of a sudden like, okay, maybe the Lakers are pretty good. Like,
Yeah.
and I do think they will be, but also you got to take things in perspective. Like the first couple games, like guys are still trying to figure stuff out. Like especially the Lakers. Like if they win those games, that's even more of a promising thing because they haven't been together. Like the Clippers have been together. The Warriors
Yeah.
obviously have been together years, right? And so that's what makes
Mhm.
them so great. So if the Lakers can go in to both of those games, win those games and walk away with a win, or even just lose in a tough loss, that's very promising because the Lakers are only going to get better. So if we
Yeah.
look like a team that deserves to be in the conversation against the Warriors and the Clippers, like of beating them, and even if we lose, just because the Lakers are going to only get better, I think that
Yeah.
that's a positive. That is a huge positive. Granted, we'll
So you
see.
you don't see any scenario where a team falls apart like mid-season.
I think it just depends on how bad things get. Like if the Lakers start like, say they start like 2-8 in our first 10 games, I do. I think you start seeing like a lot of panic. I think you
Yeah.
see like the fan base kind of lose their minds. I think Rob Pelinka will be a lot more pressured to get a deal
Yeah.
done and do a trade. Um,
Yeah.
I think it also depends on how we're losing and what the team looks like as a whole.
Yeah.
Like if like a majority of our guys look good and we're just having a hard time closing out games and it's stuff that can be fixed,
Yeah.
then I still think people freak out. But I think the Lakers won't. But if it's
Yeah.
something where we just look like an absolute mess and the Lakers look like an absolute dumpster fire, then I don't think that that'll be good for the Lakers, and I think then they sort of make a fire sale, do something
Yeah.
drastic. I think it's really going to depend on how like the first like 10 or so games go, and our opening stretch is tough because we play the Warriors, the
Yeah.
Clippers, the Blazers, the Nuggets, and the Timberwolves. Our first 5 games,
All
so
contenders.
yeah, well, Portland, not so. Portland should be a
Well,
W, but
yeah.
outside of that, all of them arguably are. Like all of them are like Denver. Many people believe Denver is the third, if not second best team in the West. So there's that. And then the Timberwolves. Timberwolves have a lot of promise, are young, have a lot of potential, all of those things. So I definitely think this is going to be a really tough stretch. That if we can walk away, if we could go like 3-2 or 4-1, I think that is huge.
Yeah.
Like if we like if we beat the Blazers, and then we beat like say we beat like the Warriors and the Timberwolves, right? And we lose to the Nuggets and the Clippers. Like,
Yeah.
yes, we lost to arguably the two best teams in the West, but we beat three of like legit teams.
Yeah.
And like that's a good start for a team. Again, that's only going to get better. That's only going to improve.
If we get over
So
like 50%, that would be good for sure.